All right, everyone ready to dive into something pretty cool? Today we're looking at video podcasts on YouTube, and get this, our main source is a YouTube video itself.
Whoa, meta.
Right? It's called Mics to Have Video Podcasting. Something like why make video podcasts? It's from a channel called To Run This.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're pretty big in the YouTube marketing world.
Makes sense that they'd be talking about video podcasts then.
Exactly. And this creator, they got like 15 years of experience on YouTube, so they know what they're talking about. And the big question they're tackling is, why should you consider making your podcasts in video format and putting them on YouTube? I mean, think about it. Podcasting in general has just exploded in the last few years. This video mentions that we went from like 500,000 podcasts in 2018 to a projected 5 million by 2024.
Wow, that's huge.
And YouTube's not oblivious to this trend. They've even added a whole podcast section to YouTube Studio.
So they're really going all in on this.
Absolutely. It makes sense though, right? YouTube is already a visual platform, so adding podcasts to the mix seems like a natural evolution. But what do you think is the biggest draw for video podcasts? Why are they taking off like this?
Well, this video claims that video podcasts can be like 50% more engaging than just audio. That's a huge difference.
So what do you think? Is it all about the power of visuals?
I mean, visuals definitely play a big role. Think about it. You get to see the speaker's expressions, their body language. You can have graphics and illustrations popping up on the screen. It just makes for a way richer storytelling experience.
Like you're not just listening to someone describe something, you're actually seeing it.
Exactly. And it's not just about entertainment either. Visuals can be super important for actually understanding things, you know? Especially if it's like a tutorial or a product review. Anything where showing something visually really helps.
That makes sense. So, okay, we've got the visuals, but what are some other reasons why someone might want to put their podcast on YouTube?
Well, the creator of this video lays out 5 pretty compelling arguments. First off, you're tapping into a massive audience that's already there. YouTube has billions of users, so you don't have to start from scratch.
That's a huge advantage. Building an audience from zero can take forever.
Second, YouTube's search integration is amazing. Since it's owned by Google, your video podcasts are way more likely to show up in search results when people are looking for info on your topic.
Yeah, so even if someone's not specifically looking for your podcast, they might stumble upon it.
Right. Third reason, and this ties back to what we were talking about earlier, is engagement. Video just grabs people's attention better than audio alone.
If you've covered something they're interested in, it's like a totally different level of immersion, right? Like watching a movie versus listening to a book on tape.
Exactly. Okay, fourth reason, this one's about your website. You can embed your YouTube videos right on your site, which keeps your audience engaged on your platform instead of sending them off to Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
That's smart. You get to control the experience and maybe get them to explore more your site.
Exactly. And finally, the fifth reason is repurposing. You can take those long video podcasts and cut them up into shorter clips for social media, like Instagram, TikTok, even YouTube Shorts.
But you're basically getting more mileage out of your content instead of one long video. You have a bunch of bite-sized pieces to share everywhere.
Yep, it's a really effective strategy.
Okay, you've convinced me. Video podcasts sound awesome. But what if I already had an audio-only podcast? Is it hard to make the switch?
Not at all. This video actually gives some great tips on how to get started, even if you're not a video expert. You can keep it simple, just use static images or your logo over your audio track.
It's a good way to test the waters without needing fancy equipment or anything.
Right, but they also show a professional video studio setup, which obviously looks way more polished. It really depends on your goals and your budget.
True, for some people, that higher production value might be worth it, especially if they're trying to build a professional brand. Speaking of branding, this video makes a really interesting point about how podcasts are a form of long-form engagement. They contrast that with platforms like Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, and the point they're making is that you get different kinds of engagement on those platforms. Podcasts let you really dive deep into a topic, have a nuanced conversation. That's tough to do with just a static image or a quick 15-second video.
They even put some numbers to it. A 1-hour podcast is 3,600 seconds of engagement versus maybe 1 or 2 seconds for a single image.
It shows you the power of long-form content, how it can really build a loyal audience that connects with your brand on a much deeper level. It's interesting, isn't it, how that deeper engagement through podcasts, it really translates into building a brand.
They make a good point in this video about, it's not like scrolling through Instagram with a podcast. You got time to actually connect with your audience. You can really show off your brand's personality.
Right. It's not just a quick glance. It's about building trust, you know?
Yeah.
And authenticity. That's important for any brand, really.
Yeah, definitely. This is making me rethink my whole content strategy.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the potential of video podcasts now.
Yeah.
Not just for expanding my audience,
Yeah.
but also for making that connection with them stronger.
Exactly. And that's what's exciting about this whole shift towards video podcasts. It's not just about adding visuals, it's about unlocking new ways to tell stories.
It feels
and
like
keep
we're
people
watching
engaged.
podcasting evolve right in front of us, and YouTube is leading the way.
Yeah, definitely. And this evolution, it's not just about the tech stuff. It makes you wonder about the future of audio-only podcasts.
That's a good point. With video becoming so accessible and engaging, do you think audio podcasts might end up as kind of a niche format?
It's possible. I mean, look at what happened with other media. When TV came along, radio didn't disappear.
So you're thinking audio-only podcasts might find their own little niche?
But it definitely changed.
Like vinyl records or something?
Exactly. There will always be people who love the simplicity of audio, that intimate feeling. But if you want to reach the widest possible audience, video is probably the way to go.
Especially with YouTube putting so much effort into attracting podcasters to their platform.
It's a smart move for them, for sure. They're tapping into a huge market, and they're cementing their position as the top platform for video content, period.
They're really making it easy to create and share video podcasts. This whole deep dive has been eye-opening. We've gone from the basics of what a podcast even is to why video is becoming so dominant in the podcasting world.
And we've also talked about the bigger picture, right? What this means for audio-only podcasts and what creators need to think about as this landscape keeps changing.
So for all our listeners out there who are thinking about starting a podcast or adding video to their existing one, what's your top piece of advice?
I'd say don't be afraid to experiment. Podcasting is still relatively new. It's constantly evolving. There's no rule book. So try different things, different styles. See what works for you, what your audience responds to.
I love that. It's about finding your own voice, your own style, no matter what format you choose.
Exactly. And remember, the most important thing is to create something you're passionate about, something you believe in. If you're excited about it, that'll come through, and your audience will feel it.
It's kind of wild to think that just a few years ago, podcasting was basically all about audio. Now it feels like video is about to, take over.
Yeah, it's a big shift. I think it shows how visual our culture has become. We see images and videos everywhere all the time, so it makes sense that it's bleeding into podcasting too.
This video we've been talking about, they actually made a really interesting comparison. They said that a 1-hour podcast is 3,600 seconds of engagement, right?
Right.
But a static image, like something you'd see scrolling through your feed, it's maybe 1 or 2 seconds?
Yeah, something like that.
It really shows you the difference in attention span. And with YouTube, actively trying to get podcasters on board, making it easier to create and share video stuff. It seems like this trend is just going to keep growing.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think it's a huge opportunity for creators who are willing to try this new format. Video podcasts, they let you connect with your audience on a deeper level, build a stronger brand, and ultimately you can tell more compelling stories.
But do you think there's still a place for, the classic audio-only podcasts?
I think audio will always have its fans. Sometimes you just want to listen to a good story or learn something while you're out on a walk or commuting or doing chores.
World that's becoming more and more visual?
Exactly. And for some topics, maybe true crime or investigative stuff, audio might actually be better. It lets you focus on the details without any visuals to distract you.
So maybe we're headed for a hybrid future for podcasting where audio and video both exist.
I think that's the most likely outcome, yeah. The cool thing about podcasting is that it's flexible, it can adapt. There's room for all kinds of voices, all kinds of formats.
Each with its own purpose, its own audience. And platforms like YouTube, they're helping to shape this landscape by embracing both audio and video.
It's a really exciting time to be involved in all this. The future of podcasting is wide open. I can't wait to see what new formats people come up with.
Me too. Yeah, and to everyone listening, I encourage you to, go explore podcasts on YouTube, find some new creators, try out different formats, or maybe even think about starting your own podcast. Who knows? You could be the next big hit.
The tools are out there. They're easier to use than ever. All you need is a bit of creativity and the willingness to share your voice with the world.
That's a great way to put it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into video podcasts on YouTube. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those creative juices flowing.